Good morning, and thank you for joining us on this beautiful Sunday day, whether it be morning, evening, or afternoon where you're at. Thank you so much for being a part of the first lineup on this Sunday for Voice of Uganda Radio. I am your host, Miss Brenda, for Freedom at Hand, along with the Honorable Zoe Bakoko, and Madam Dorothy is here with us as well this morning for what we hope to be a great 2 hour show of informing each other and sharing information back and forth. I'm going to allow a couple of minutes to my co-host to say good morning to you and introduce themselves and we'll go ahead and start off with the Honorable Zoe Bakoko. Good morning.
Good morning, Miss Brenda. Good morning, all the listeners. Good morning, my friend, my sister Dorothy. Today is a very important day. As you know, the world is celebrating the sainthood
Mm,
of Holy Father Pope John Paul, a very, very holy man, and who did so much for
mm,
the world and justice in the area of social justice. And
yes.
as we reflect on this day, and I'm sure my sister will talk more about it, talk about the day of divine mercy, talking about what that means to people in the world,
Mm,
and particularly for the Christians. I had a rare opportunity to go and celebrate the International Youth Day in Assisi, and I remember going to Castel Gandolfo, and the Pope said the Mass for us. And after the Mass, this is really, really important because this was a lot of people. We were a huge group, and he was coming and saying hi to, waving to all these different groups as he went back into where he was living. And I had this little wooden carving which I bought from Uganda, and on it was written, "The people of Uganda love you."
mm,
So I told his bodyguards, security, that I really wanted him to bless my gifts which I was going to take home. And so as he moved nearer, the security said, "Don't worry, I'll pull you forward." And so when he got to our group, the guy brought me forward and told the Pope that, "Look here, she has a message for you." So I knelt down and I gave him this little wooden carving on which it said, "The people of Uganda love you." And I
wow.
said, "Papa, the people of Uganda love you." The guy loved Uganda.
Mm,
He really loved Uganda. You remember in his papacy, he came to Uganda twice. And
yeah.
so I said, "Would you do me the honor to please, Holy Father, to bless these blessings, these gifts, which I'm going to take back and distribute?" And so he just put his hand on my face and then on my head, and he said, "Bless you, child." And he took this gift in his hand and looked at it and held it close to his heart and then gave it to his security to hold. And
Mm,
so today, as his sainthood is celebrated, a guy who
yes.
loved Uganda, it just brings me memories of how, in the fight he had for bringing justice and freedom in this world, how Uganda needs that justice and freedom. And so there couldn't have been a better topic that we could discuss today than looking at how this country is going to reclaim its glory and justice and freedom and independence.
Oh, beautiful and very well said. Dorothy, go ahead and say hello to our audience and introduce yourself in.
Um, Thank you so much, Miss Brenda. My name is Dorothy. I would like to thank you, Miss Brenda, Honorable Bakoko Zoe, all our listeners, whenever you are. We love you. Without you, this wouldn't mean anything. As the Honorable has already stated, today is a happy day. The whole world is celebrating the canonization of Pope, now a saint, John Paul II, and John the 23rd, the good Pope, and then our John Paul, the great Pope. Already he's the great. But what I'm going to say today, what I remember, the most important theme of his, it was the dignity of the human person. The dignity of the human person, the man who was able to bring everybody. It didn't matter your religion. He would pause and say, but they are brothers and sisters. The man who joined all churches, including the Jews, the first man who entered the temple. I mean, what can I say? The dignity of a human person, the dignity of the woman. He understood these topics so well. So here we are, Voice of Uganda Radio. This day, it can't be better than that, because we look at the dignity of the human person. No manipulation, no thinking that I'm smart, I can pass here and lie, I can choose and pick what I do, what I talk about, whatever. It was for all, and that's why he's the great. So, Mama Brenda, we are ready for this day, the divine mercy Son of our Lord. Mercy for everybody. He does not discriminate. So, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ladies, for those openings. All spoken from the heart, I know. I have to make this one comment as we will get into our program this morning. I've had the opportunity to be around Zoe when we were had the opportunity to meet Bill Clinton, and I feel there is a divineness on her that people are drawn to when it comes to her love and her compassion for the Ugandan people. Out of the masses that were there to see Clinton, there she was, and he was mesmerized at what she had to say and what she wanted him to know about what was happening to the Ugandan people. So I'm very, very excited about the role that she's playing in uniting us back into Africa as a whole country, as a whole nation. Legacy. That's what we're talking about today. Whether, as we get on to talking about the First Lady of Uganda this morning and looking into some of her programs and some of the things that she has done and where her voice needs to be heard, that her voice is not being heard. When we talk about legacies, the way these two individuals, the way Honorable Zoe Bakoko and Dorothy just opened up by saying good morning and sending greetings out to all our fellow Ugandans, legacy is what we're talking about. That's what this holy day is all about. What is the legacy that you're setting? What is the presence that you're setting? And how do you want to be remembered later in life as to what you have left behind as your legacy? As we start to get into and talk about the First Lady.
You.
Yeah, we did, but you're okay. You're back in. So I'm just still doing the introduction in here. So for our listening audience, we sometimes have problems here in our studio where we will drop something every now and then. So Zoe just came back in. When we talk about our legacies, what is the legacy we want to leave behind? How do we want to be remembered? What do we want the world to say about us when we're no longer here? And as you know from conversations you have within yourselves, some of the conversations we have about those who have come and gone are good, and some of the conversations we have are bad. When we think about the First Ladies, here being on the United States of American soil, when we think about the First Ladies of the United States of America and some of the things they lent their voices to, some of the things they lent their hearts to, because one of the things I want you, our listening audience, to keep in mind as we start to talk about the conversations that we're going to have here today, every president, no matter what his cause and what his plight, when his wife stands up for something, he supports her. He doesn't bash her. He doesn't move her aside. He doesn't think that what she has to say or what she has to give is non-important. And it's important for those women in those roles as leading women, as the first ladies in their countries, to set a presence. They have to go outside of the comfort zone sometime to say this is right or this isn't right. What are the women's issues that they're standing up for? Because we know her husband is there to lead the country, but what is she doing to bring and lead the women forward in what she has to say and what she has to give? Just for an example of some of the first ladies we've had, we know with Lincoln's wife, she supported the role of him in freeing the slaves, and she lent her voice out for helping these people to get educated, helping them to find jobs, helping them to find housing, because she knew that what they were up against was going to be obstacles that they could not face themselves. A lot of them have lent their voices to all sorts of organizations like the Girl Scouts of America, disabilities, cerebral palsy, all sorts of things. So our first ladies have come in. We even have those who have advocated for the church, no matter what religion you're in, how it develops our children, how it moves our children forward. Michelle Obama right now, the first lady here in the United States of America, talks a lot about food and nutrition and things that have to take place with that, with our youth, in order to help them to be better, not only physically, mentally, and emotionally, but in every way because of a lot of the things that Americans consume in this country. So ladies, let's start out by saying, and let's look into the first lady there in Uganda. Where can we say that she is lending her voice in order to make a difference in Uganda? And then we're going to flip that over to the other side to say, where can she be lending her voice inside of Uganda to make a difference in the country for all sorts of issues that have come up in Uganda here lately. We're going to go ahead and start with you, Zoe, and then we'll roll right on over to Dorothy. Where do you think that the First Lady of Uganda has lent her voice, and where she could better be heard in lending her voice to some of the issues happening today in Uganda?
Thank you very much, Miss Brenda. This is a very important topic today, and when we talk about mothers and when we talk about a very important person like Mrs. Janet Museveni, and she's been so lucky to be in office for almost 30 years with her husband. And so in 30 years, we know that she will have made a lot of impact in the different areas as a first lady, because it's not like in the United States where you can be a first lady for just 4 years, one term, or for 8 years maximum, which is 2 terms, and it's limited, and so you have to get out and continue the community work you want to do outside of White House. But in Uganda, where there is liberty with this president, even to remove term limits, the First Lady has been in office as a First Lady from 1986 to this year, and in 2 years she will have been there for 30 years. And all the children who were born during the war, the 5 years when the husband was staging the war in Luwero and in the south, if you add that as well, it's 28 plus 5, which is 33 years. And so she knew how much damage had been done in Uganda. And as a First Lady, she should have had a plan which was going to help many of the people, not only the women alone, the children, because we, the mothers, are the ones who shape the children. We are the first teachers. We are the nurses of the family. And so one of the things that I would be looking at, which we will discuss how far it went, is her role in in starting this organization, OWESO, the Ugandan women's effort to save orphans. A very popular, very popular organization at the time, which attracted a lot of money and funding because of the many women who had lost their husbands, both in the war and during, and also to HIV/AIDS. And I know that she was the link between government and the religious community, because I remember when many times when people asked the president the question, which was religion, faith-based, he would say, you know what, I only deal with government work, and I have somebody very close to me in the home. Those issues are handled by her. and this is the first lady. And so therefore anything, any teachings which would have been faith-based, which would have promoted, morality, and which would have promoted integrity among our young people, would be coming from her example. She would be the role model. And so the third area I remember where I personally worked with her was the area of the youth. And where the youth meetings we had was always done at the beginning of the year, and most of it was done with the conservatives. Some of the conservative pastors from the United States who would come there for a week, and we would have these young people and try to, they would induct them in different areas. But the question remains, in 30 years, what has Mrs. Janet Museveni done that has impacted positively on the population of Uganda, particularly the young people? Because right now, the young people, they have no direction. Over 80% are unemployed, and so they are in what you call streetology, on the street all the time, and there's a lot of immorality. And these children, they are learning from this very good example of corruption. Was it wrong? This is my question. When Mrs. Janet Museveni started with the WESO and the youth, by joining politics and becoming a minister, she's the first lady, she's a member of parliament, and she's a minister. Did that in a way impede her role as a first lady to be able to provide what you were speaking, Miss Brenda, about the first ladies of the United States? Did that impede her role as a first lady to provide the services that a first lady should provide? Because maybe now her attention is more to her constituency, and her attention is more to, will I be able to win the next election? And her attention is to her ministerial post, opposed to her role as a first lady. And so this is the question I put up. Did the fact that her husband took the liberty even at all to appoint his wife as a minister, did that impede her role as a first lady? Because really she should have been doing her job as a first lady, and not doing this business of again being a minister. And I mean, as I always said, it is good that she decided she has a right. It's her right to go and stand in any elective position. It is her right. But did she make the right choice, so that she's now not able to look at what she should do for the Ugandans? So I'll leave that for you to say first, then I'll come in later, Ms. Brenda.
Okay, because I'll bring Dorothy in on this, because Dorothy, I just want to kind of bounce off of something Zoe just said there. You have first ladies in the United States of America that when they were in roles, they were first ladies, and they were in those supportive roles. But when their husbands were no longer in office, they did run, and some of them became members of Congress. But that was a role they took on after that role of first lady, because they didn't want anything to impede on what they needed to do as first lady and helping to move the country forward. Go ahead, Dorothy.
Thank you so much, Ms. Brenda. First of all, I would like to congratulate Honorable Zoe for laying the facts so well for us to follow. As a matter of fact, Honorable Zoe, I think for her to choose to be a member of parliament, to choose to be a minister, I think that did impede her, strength to do what she would have been to do so well. And also, it might have been to choose an office, something close to her responsibilities as a first lady. It would have been something to do. Here in America, all the first ladies that I know, education is a big thing. It would have been something close, children, women, or something of that sort. But you cannot cross from the west and go to Karamoja. What is the intention over there? I mean, so it is a tricky way. But as Honorable was laid already up there, the starting and the beginning of USO, because I think it was effective at the beginning. So for me, I would like to give credit where credit is due. And as you know, I have been trying to do my best to follow with all the confusion that has been going on. For me, I think her voice has stood up. She has come out big on issues where I did not expect her. And then I think she forgot issues where, for me, I needed to hear her. I might be wrong on this, okay? So, did her participation, being a minister and the MP, did impede what she was supposed to? I think yes, very much so. So, for example, I have had the First Lady coming out to big. I know she has done works and organized works for HIV/AIDS and all those kind of stuff, mother to baby, and some education. She has done all those things. But then also, doing those things, there is a darker moment. But we'll come to that later, because it is one thing to organize a work and educate and do the teaching and the walking, and people come around and, learn. But it is another way when you pass the other way, and then the funds that are being sent to these to fund these the same issues, then they go missing and your name shows up. But we can come back to that. Anyway, so but it's something she has done. She has organized those works, HIV, teaching the mothers, mother to baby, what should be done. Also, my question, the time I needed her so much as the mother, as a First Lady of Uganda, I needed her. I waited. It was during, and this struggle still goes on, the nodding disease issue in northern Uganda. As a First Lady, I thought she was going to be the first. She had to be the first ticket to this, to let the world know that me as a mother of Uganda, we are in trouble. There's something here that things have gone so wrong. As Beatrice, her team, struggled to let the world know, as these babies, as these children nodded to death, as they are tied, as they got lost, and some get burnt in the bushes in the fire, the world was silent. The mothers and the families were confused, burying one after another. Okay?
Now, Beatrice that you're talking about, she's a member of parliament, is she not?
She is. She was.
She is. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
So, she made all kinds of noises in the parliament to declare Northern Uganda as a crisis, because, Miss Brenda, this was a crisis. If you ever see those clips, if you ever see those videos of those children and the families and what happens, it is devastating. The family ceases to function. Okay? Beatrice talked in the parliament. People joined her. They waged a war. The present ears were deaf. She turned to the best way. How can I do this? How can I get attention from the world? Okay? Brought up these children. They are being first off. They are ashamed to the country. The president doesn't want the world to know that this is happening. Helps these children on the buses. Stop after stop, they arrested her. They arrested the children. They arrested the parents. But her mission was to bring them up to Mulago, to make sure the world sees. My question is, where was Mrs. Janet Museveni as the First Lady? This is where my heart starts to ache so much. Before even I go on to things like education, where the education, we have no education. Where is she as a mother? What, before I go even on Karamoja? So, where as she been as a mother. She has spoken so frequently and so loudly, compassionately about this hateful law that has been signed. But where was she when the public management bill? She can say this is politics. Well, that is not my area, but the education, the nodding disease, this is her area. So, I leave that up to you, Miss Brenda, to fill me in because I'm confused.
And I'll go back to Zoe, but Zoe, I do want to say this. With any current events and any issues that have come up worldwide in any country with the first ladies being behind their husbands, they have always wanted to know how the first lady feels or what her stand is on what's taking place or what's going on. Even if some of them are very passive in what they have to say because politically they don't want to get too involved, some of them can be very outspoken. But I have not read any articles where you have heard the First Lady come out in support or non-support or even to lend a compassionate ear to how the public is dealing with. Let's just take the gay bill that was just passed. I have not heard anything at all, and this is a topic that should be spoken about on a roundtable discussion. Go ahead, Zoe.
Well, thank you very much, Miss Brenda, and thank you, listeners. I think, just as Dorothy said, the First Lady was in northern Uganda addressing the Mothers' Union of the Anglican Church, the laity, and it's a very important body of the Anglican Church. And she was thanking them and rewarding them for supporting the president when he was signing the anti-homosexuality law. And the fact that they stood by her husband. Dorothy was saying that she probably thought this was a very political law, or some of these issues like the public order management bill, the POMA Act, that these are political, or pornography act, anti-pornography act, these are political. But you talk about political, she's a political animal because she deliberately chose to become a member of parliament. And remember, Miss Brenda, that meeting we had in the Chase Center where we met the former president, Mr. Clinton, they were discussing, one of the workshops was discussing the role of women as leaders.
Yes,
and they had spoken about Uganda. And my question was, when these laws, repressive laws, were being passed in Uganda, where was the women's voice? And the loudest voice we should have heard was from the member of parliament and the minister of Karamoja, and on top of that, the First Lady of Uganda. And if she had brought up her voice, it is not that she would be opposing her husband, but she would be speaking for compassion, knowing that, as they put it in their words, not all children are the same. And so therefore, she should have been the loudest voice to say this is wrong. I think these are all Ugandan children and they are all our people, and we should deal with this in a different way and we should accept them. And so there's no excuse for her to say that it's political. I cannot speak about this. She cannot no longer divorce herself from political issues because she sits in parliament as a member of parliament. And she also sits in parliament as a member of the executive after the husband chose to appoint her as a minister in government. And so therefore, I think her voice would have been loud. I heard her voice again when she was talking about corruption. When Parliament was discussing Temangalo, the corruption in NSSF, she raised her voice very high in the caucus. And this was because the person, she said, the president was protecting Amama Mbabazi too much and that people were tired of corruption. But her voice was in the caucus. She didn't go out to talk about it because she couldn't, because she would be shooting her foot. There's also a lot of other issues which have come out. For example, how, like Miss Brenda was saying before, the funds of Gavi, where Honorable Mukula was saying the money was taken by her. And so in these situations, it's very difficult sometimes to talk about things if you're in the middle of it and you are participating as well.
Yeah, but for her husband to appoint her into these high positions, it means that he was giving her a voice. If my husband was in such a position and he appointed me in such a manner, I would feel that he was trusting me to have my own say and my own opinion about how I feel, whether it be in Parliament, whether it be in whatever arena she's in. So the silencing of her voice worries me because I feel so much like she has fallen into the same role as Parliament, where they take what is given, the gifts and whatever, and they just allow ruling to happen as it normally does. They're not really standing for the issues that they should. And I feel like she's almost fallen into that role rather than the role of a first lady. Dorothy, comment on that, and then we'll let Zoe come back in on that.
Okay, thank you so much, Miss Brenda. I'm going to differ here a little bit because when I hear something, I want to remind myself, did I hear this correctly, and I stand to be corrected. I think the First Lady, she decided that, as the Honorable said, sometimes she would not shoot herself in the feet, and she has been very wise in selecting things, what to talk about. She hasn't been silent completely. I will take you back to the issue of northern Uganda. Okay? As a mother, when this hateful law was passed, yes, our culture, yes, we don't stand for that, yes. But when the law was passed and signed, the content of the law, we have lost people on the streets. These are children that women carried them for 9 months, raised them, took care of them. As mothers, they did not sit there and hoped for their children to be that way. Okay? I'm talking in a position of being a mother. Okay? I sit here, I see that every day here. When people are lost, they don't know what church to go to. But the churches are supposed to welcome everybody. The churches is the hospital and clinics for the sick of the South. Okay? Now, as a First Lady, as a mother, is supposed to welcome all troubled children, sit them and nurture them and bring them and teach them until she straightens them to be children the way they are supposed to be. Okay? So what is her stand if it was Natasha? They found out that she's that way. And for God's sake, God forbid, she's stoned to death. What was her voice? Where was she? But instead, she kept quiet on that note. But then, she found enough energy to hop all the way to northern Uganda to address those Anglican bishops for the work well done, supporting her husband signing the law, and thanking the mothers to support her husband, and then turned to the mothers and encouraged them to keep their eyes on their children, the youth, to make sure they were not to be corrupted by the West strange sexual practices. Because she said this. To her, as a mother, this has been very, very important to her. and she's all have the right to address this. But what I'm saying, right now, as we are talking in northern Uganda, they are not even no youth. The children have died of nodding disease. Nodding disease, for me, you cannot finish a clip without crying. Okay? As she saw her mother, it was imperative for her to go up there to tell these women how to raise the children, to protect them from the West, the corrupt ways. But my question is, this is why I go back and I stand firmly with what I said, that she's being selective. And she's really a political animal, and she's very wise. She knows what to choose, what to talk about, and what not to talk about in a very, very, very smart way as she chooses to do. Okay? So my pain is, Miss Brenda and Honorable Zoe, and all the listeners, please feel free to call in. She had the responsibility to address this issue, okay, of the gay. But where was she to support?
Yeah.
Where was her voice when the mothers of northern Uganda were crying, when the babies died, they are still dying? Where was she? What has she done? Because there would be no children for her even to get worried about, to be corrupted in these ways she's worried about, because they have died enormously in big numbers, and they continue to. Where is she? So, okay, that is one example for me. For right now, I can bring it up, but there are even many other examples where she has been selected.
Yes, I understand. And we have a call that is coming in, so let's go ahead and take this caller. Hey, caller, come on in and introduce yourself to the panel.
Yes, good morning, Miss Brenda, and good morning, Honorable Zoe Bakoko, and yes, good morning, Dorothy. My name is Musana, and as usual, I'm on fire. First of all, I still believe that this lady, Janet Museveni, is hiding behind region. First of all, I want to expose her corruptness. Perhaps you guys have been lenient on this woman, on this program so far. I want Janet Museveni to tell us exactly what she wrote in her book, My Life's Journey. I'll take you back. In that book, this woman, Janet Museveni, specifically said that she met General Idi Amin Dada in 1971. Anyone who was adult or who had any knowledge during that time, 1971, Amin was so loved at that time in 1971. Here we are. She said that when she met this man, General Idi Amin, she had a cold shiver running down behind her, behind her spine. At what time did she come to know that Amin was a killer for her to have such cold feet against Idi Amin in 1971? This lady is known to own properties. This lady, if I can mention some of the properties that are known to be owned by Janet Museveni. Here we go. Hotel of Bakery, SIM Telephone Booth Company, Garden City, even if it's really, built on wetland, Crane Bank, Imperial Resort Hotel, Imperial Resort Beach Hotels, Sham Towers. Those who know Sham Towers was Uganda Commercial Bank, Kampala International University, St. Lawrence Citizen High School, Uganda Telecom, used to be Uganda Telecommunication and Post Office, MTN, Oriental Crane and Oriental Bank. And this is very, very interesting. Oriental Bank, Miss Museveni, if you hear me, this bank is owned either by you or by your entire family. Now, this Oriental Bank, every taxation collected from any Uganda who pays taxes, let it be from Uganda Revenue Authority, this money is deposited in this bank, Orient Bank, car registration fee, passport fee, everything that being collected by the government, it goes in this account. Whose account is this? And who owns Orient Bank? Why can't the Uganda Revenue Authority money, people pay taxes, go to the central bank, Bank of Uganda? You people understand that Museveni walks around with brown envelopes. Where does the money come from? Why can't the member of parliament bring this up and tell the public that Orient Bank is a personal bank of General Museveni and yes, and her husband, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry to take up your time. When General Museveni was in Sweden, she had, when she was in Tanzania, Mrs. Tito Okello, remember, Museveni overthrew Tito Okello, Lutwa's government. His wife used to babysit for Museveni's children. Her husband called Tito Okello for the woman who used to babysit her children a swine. Museveni called Tom Wang all names when Museveni was going to give birth. When she was pregnant, she was in Uganda for her last baby. I think her name is Diana. Tom Wang paid for her ticket to go to UK to have that baby. Tom Wang died in prison with the knowledge of the so-called First Lady. How can we sit here and talk about this lady as somebody who's political? This woman, as I understand, he's the Minister of Preparedness in Karamoja. You tell me, fellow Ugandans, what is there to be prepared for in Karamoja except embezzling mineral money? This woman, Jane Museveni, went to the University of Makerere and she got into that university through the back door. It is well known and well documented that to be accepted in the ministry, as a candidate or as a student for the bachelor degree in education, you must meet certain criteria. And one of them, you must have at least an A-level passage on merit. You must have a diploma in education. And that diploma requires you to have 3 years of teaching. It requires you to, among others, to have, another criteria is age. General Museveni did not pass A-level. When General Museveni go to get her A-level, we understand General Museveni failed senior 4. Where in the world did she get senior 6 in order to get into the university? How did she acquire the requirements to get in that university? Is she holding a sham election? A sham diploma? In her book, My Life is Journey, General Museveni said in 1965, Makerere was one of the best of the best universities in Africa. Actually, it was the Harvard of Africa. He said again that Mulago in 1970, from 1970 to 1979, or from 1960s through almost 79, Mulago was one of the best, the center of excellence in medicine. Right now, Museveni's family, Museveni herself, General Museveni, they fly all their family members to be treated outside Uganda. Does this mean that she does not believe that Mulago Hospital at this moment is the center of excellence in medicine? I see this family has taken Uganda to the stone age, and we should stop beating around the bush and call it as it is. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Musana, for calling in with those comments. Zoe, I'll let you go ahead and start in on some of the things and the issues that he brought up there.
Yeah, thank you very much, my brother Musana. As always, you bring spice to the discussion. And
spice is a good word.
Yeah, it spices up our discussion all the time, and we are grateful to have somebody like him who always steps in, and that's why this discussion we allow callers to talk, because it's not only us alone; it's our forum to be.
And
able
what,
to
we have another caller in too. Let's go ahead and take his, Zoe, and then I'll let you comment to what Musa and I had to say and this new caller. Go ahead, caller. Introduce yourself in.
Hello, good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are located. This is Chiwanuka Lawrence in Sereko calling from New York.
Good morning, sir. Welcome to the show.
Good morning.
It's wonderful to hear you. I think we should maybe start calling you the Three Amigas, because you are doing a wonderful job, and I appreciate the voice, because what has been missing in our struggle, I think, has finally risen. We are dealing with an individual who is very cunning, who is a political chameleon, and we need to be very keen as we approach her character. I will start by trying to explore this individual, and I will start by a case that many people have not paid attention to. Maybe I will start by quoting George Lewis. George Lewis writes in 1860 that murder, like talent, seems occasionally to run in the family. There is a case that many of us have not paid attention to. It's a case of a young man by the name of Bantariza Warren. Bantariza Warren was a young activist in Uganda who worked at the Pan-African Congress Secretariat. Somewhere, somehow, he gets involved with Natasha Museveni. The mother was not pleased even for a single minute. One, that her daughter was having a relationship out of wedlock. Because as you can see from her book, My Life's Journey, she comes from the right-wing Christian movement. And in that process, she disapproved of it. What is interesting is that a Christian of that extreme, instead of acting otherwise, decided to end the life of Warren Bantariza. She requested Noble Mayombo, who eventually was killed by poison, and the Commission of Inquiry on what caused his death has not been published yet. And Noble Mayombo contacted another operative by the name of Rwakasisi, and the two of them picked up Warren from Rest Corner Hotel in Muyenga, where they had a quick meal, and drove him to Botanical Gardens in Entebbe, where he was hanged and left in the Botanical Gardens. Noble Mayombo was instructed to carry out this murder by Janet Museveni. Unfortunately, the press in Uganda cannot publish such information, but it's available. And people know it, though it's being kept quiet. There are several other deaths that have happened in Uganda, and I wish I had time to look through my folders. I would have come up with maybe 3 other cases of murder that were on the instructions of Janet Museveni. But let's step back maybe from that line. And let's look at the one thing that she pretends to desire so much, and that's the issue of women. Now, when you come to the issue of women, Janet Museveni tells us that she would like to see women improve their lives, and she's working very hard to elevate the lives of the poor. But for someone who is working to elevate the lives of the poor, how can you allow your daughter to spend $90,000, which is 225 million Uganda shillings, to travel to have birth in Germany, whereas the maternity wing in Mulago lacks warm water? How can you tell me that you care about the people of Uganda? You basically are only caring about your family. And this is what is happening. It's a process where Janet and his family, they come and they pretend to be desiring and they are pretending to be working for the achievement of all Ugandans, whereas for their personal achievement. Janet Museveni, when she decides to run for office, people say that because people asked her. No, in her own words, she tells us that God talked to her and told her to run for office. She said this publicly. It was widely published in the New Vision, in the Monitor, and in the other local presses in Uganda. But it was a business strategy, and the target was Karamoja. If you want to figure out what is happening, try to look at the workings of Janet Museveni, Sam Kutesa, Linda Choka, Thatcher, the son of Margaret Thatcher who lives in South Africa, and see what kind of business dealings they are involved in. They are extracting gold from Karamoja, and the sole vendor is Linda Choka and Thatcher and Sam Wengola. This is what's happening in Karamoja, and that's what she's working on there. So it has nothing to do with the development of Karamoja. It's all a process of plundering. So Janet Museveni cannot talk to us about morality because she comes out and she's talking about morality and this and the other. But if you examine her behavior, it's very, very appalling. Definitely, she's the brain behind the Anti-Homosexuality Act, even though she's trying to deny it. Whoever wants to know should look at the WikiLeaks that came out on September 11, 2011. And in there is a conversation between the American ambassador and the presidential advisor, Johnny Nagenda. And Johnny Nagenda tells Mr. Lena, the then ambassador of the U.S. to Uganda, that Janet Museveni is the one who is pushing for the anti-homosexuality bill. Museveni feels uncomfortable with it because of the possible political repercussions. But Janet would not let go. So in the process, Museveni agrees with his wife that will let this bill be a private bill, and let's do not have the government or the then minister Nsaba Buturo, who was originally supposed to post the bill, let it be posted privately so that the government can claim that it's coming from the general public by a private bill. Janet runs to David Bahati, and she tells David Bahati that if you do this, you will be promoted within the NRM structure, which actually eventually happened. He's now the chairman of the NRM caucus. So Bahati comes, puts the bill through Parliament, and the rest is history. So this bill is Janet Museveni's bill. It comes from some of his radical right-wing supporters, some based here in the U.S., who even, I think every end of the year, they have the gathering at Nambore, and this is her push. So there are several things that Janet Museveni is involved in. She cannot talk about women's rights when you examine clearly the anti-pornographic bill, which in Uganda is known as the miniskirt law. The miniskirt law does not look at women as total self-actualized human beings, but it constructs an image of a woman who is a sexual object there for the pleasure of the male population. Hence, the requirement, because if you wear a miniskirt, you are going to excite me. If I lose self-control, then it's a problem of what I've been looking at. So women are being being seen as primarily sexual objects. And Janet Museveni is behind all these acts. Therefore, we cannot allow her to lie to us that she is against corruption and she has morals. I will take a short while here and read a paragraph directly from her book, My Life's Journey. And then I will make a comment and I will close. So she is writing about her husband, and she says the following. He, Museveni, also had a weary sense of humor, which he still possesses to this day. He was always very funny, and he had the ability to make people laugh. He has on many occasions told us the story that he remembers that when my father died in 1955, his father Amos sent him to bring some milk in a big milky pot, a chanzi, to offer condolences on behalf of his family. So Yoweri Museveni made his way to Irenga, Janet Museveni's home, but was put off by the large crowd of people he found at our home in Irenga. I will skip a line there or two, so in the interest of time. Yoweri, on seeing Safila, who was older than him, on the other side of the compound, thought to leave the milk pot with her. So he circled the homestead hedge, looking for the entrance so that he could get to Safira. After going around in circles and failing to find the entrance, he gave up his mission, went and sat in the garden, drank some of the milk, poured the rest, and went home. Upon his return, he told his father asked him if he had delivered the message to my mother. He replied that he had done so. Now, this is the husband of Janet Museveni. He does steal and consume a condolence message. He drinks the milk which is meant for condolences. In our traditions, wherever you come from in Africa, you don't steal contribution mabugo. Contribution meant for funeral. But the funny part is Janet Museveni thinks this is funny, and Museveni has a sense of humor. Now, if a thief humors you, I am afraid. I am really afraid. I will hand back to you to proceed with your program. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for all that you contributed there. Zoe, I could tell you were wanting to come in on a couple of those with comments. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. My brother.
That was a loaded gun. That is a lot of information which really starts to paint a picture.
The part which is not funny but makes me laugh is how you entrust somebody with a very important message and give him a contribution, which in some of our languages is called mabugo. And you take this, it's a very, very important message, and you go and you pretend to circle around and claim that you didn't know whom to hand over the mabugo to, but you chose to go in the garden, drink the milk, and pour some of it down. I mean, we have been laboring every time on this talk show to identify the kind of person that we have in State House. And, you know, we are laboring now to discuss the person who is married to him and to whom we have entrusted our country. These are two people, the first family, who are on top of all the over close to 40 million Ugandans. And we, as Ugandans, have entrusted our country to them. And this is the character. That's where it boils to. That someone who is going to lie, someone who is not going to give you what is your right and what you deserve. And the admirer thinks this is very, very funny, and that, you know, she takes it as humor, when actually it's two characters which are similar, people of two characters which are similar, and she was pulled to him by this mischief, not because he's funny, but because of the things that he did, the cunningness, that the husband was able to come and not even hand over this mabugo to her mother. And instead, she thought that was smart, and she thought that was humorous, and that was funny, and she was attracted to him for that. And if you go back to what Musana said earlier about the cunningness, you know, in the character of these two people, and I think Ugandans, it's been a very unfortunate journey that our country.
And Zoe, we have a call coming in from UK. Let's go ahead and take this. I knew we'd probably get interrupted a little more than we wanted to on this program, but okay. Let's go ahead and take this call in from UK. Go ahead, caller. Introduce yourself in and come on in.
Hi, Miss Brenda. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for your call.
Yeah. I'm Kalimagez, as usual, from the UK. You can call me the activist. First and foremost, I would like to thank Miss Brenda for such a wonderful and very, very, very interesting program that you guys have brought up here. And not forgetting Honorable Zoe and my lovely sister, Sister
Dorothy.
Come again? Yeah. The thing is here, I've been listening to you guys, especially Miss Brenda, about the comparison that you guys are trying to make about Yoweri Janet Museveni, whatever the name is, to some of the first ladies. In the first place, Miss Brenda, to me, I can see she does not even deserve to be called a first lady. I'm very sorry to those that will which my statement will hurt, but she does not deserve to be called a first lady. She does not deserve to be called a woman. She does not deserve to be called a mother. Because in our culture, in our African culture, forget about African culture, as a woman, a mother who holds a child for 9 months, you cannot allow the NGOs to give you money which is accredited to the organization of helping women with HIV, helping the children that you claim to forget, and you channel the money the other side. And then, I am not a Christian, but if you are called a professed and active Christian, due to the work that you pretend to be working during the day, because we will judge you by your actions, by your work, but when you start to produce the results doesn't say the same. Miss Brenda and your panel, I'm very, very disappointed to see that Janet Museveni is even a mother of those 3 kids. Because as I'm talking to you, where she hails from, where he's an MP in Western Uganda, there is a child who is dying today. There is a mother who is dying as we are speaking. There is a parent who cannot afford to take his child or her child to school. There is a parent who has lost his land as a result of their gruesome government. So to me, these guys, they don't even, how can I say it? Because I have a lot of anger with me, like Musana, the way he was saying. I listened very, very, very carefully to the previous caller, the way he was narrating all. So I find out that these are the evil people we are dealing with. Because the devil can take some time to trick you, but these are people we are living with. They are tricking Ugandans. They are killing Ugandans day and night. When she was celebrating the 40 years in marriage, they were beautiful children, very, very lovely looking children in front of them. If you see those lovely children in front of you, why can't you think far? Because as a graduate of Makerere University, as she claims to be, and as a graduate of early childhood from Sweden, from Gothenburg College, I expected her to be thoroughly looking well in as far as the children's affairs are concerned. But for them, when it comes to money and oppressing people, that is what they put forward. So my lovely sisters and the listeners, let us not waste our time debating on such kind of people, because they have shown us in the last 28 plus years that what they are saying is not what they are doing. I want to give you an example, Miss Brenda, because you hail from America. Miss Clinton, the Monica Lewinsky saga, she's shown the whole world how to treat, how a woman can act. She didn't come out from nowhere. As Mr. Musana was saying, that Ms. Museveni attributed or contributed to the end of the boyfriend of her daughter. But Mrs. Clinton had the right to go even maybe and plant an assassination against Monica Lewinsky, isn't it, Miss Brenda?
Well, yes, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, but she held it in a professional way. So
yes.
Now we are finding people that Yoweri Kataha, Janet Museveni, she cannot handle such kind of things. So to me, I can see that to give her a panel of discussion, we are just wasting our time, because as soon as the more we hear what she did, the more we read what she claims to be, our tears comes falling down, because she is the sole contributor to all the atrocities that are committed in Uganda. So I would love and to request you at least to channel the topic to something else, rather than discussing somebody who is making us cry and cry and cry. Because the time has come to fight them, but it's very unfortunate to what they did to the people of Uganda. Thank you very much for your program, and may God bless you all.
Thank you so much, and I understand what he's saying about the tears, because I sit here in amazement myself. Zoe, go ahead and finish the comments you were making there. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, Miss Brenda, I think this program really, as a mother, as a woman, as somebody who has fostered and taken care of many children and mothered them. And as I've always said, I can take a bullet for my children. It breaks my heart to know that, as I was saying earlier, we have entrusted our country to a pair, two people whom we think should be the most important and who should have the interest of the country in their hearts. That, I mean, they just look at this country, Uganda, as a source of business entity. And it is very sad because you can see very clearly the question I put in the beginning, that as a first lady, has she done her job to look at the interests of the mothers, the children, and the people of Uganda? Because her husband, as she always says when she's touring and you ask her a question about the country, she says there's someone in the home who is very close to her, who deals with government issues. There's someone she knows. That was before she became a member of parliament and a minister in cabinet. And she said, I'll take your message to him. And they always played this game. And the husband, if you asked him something religious, he would say, oh, there's somebody very close to me in State House, and she's the one who is responsible for issues of religion and faith, because we have divided our roles in State House. And so you can see from the beginning how in her book her husband took supposedly Mabugo for her father's death to the mother given by her father-in-law Amos. And this Mabugo just disappeared in thin air. Is anybody surprised that the Ugandans have been promised a lot of things since Museveni came to power in 1986? Is anybody now surprised that these people have been really promising air to the Ugandans, that we still have no good schools? She's a mother and she knows that every child a mother gives birth to should access education and should access good health care, and she should be able to deliver in a hospital and by professional people. And that example of how they have continually allowed their daughters to go and deliver all their grandchildren abroad is an example of total abuse.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. You could save a lot of babies in Uganda. $90,000.
It's total abuse. And if I think I will have to ask people to remind me. Probably Lawrence will know this, or Musana. There was a story which was written by Teddy Cheye in the Confidential. I wasn't in politics then. There was a young man in Western Uganda. I think his name was Kagondo or something.
Yeah, and Musana is on with you. He's on with you. Go ahead.
Yes, he lived with his mother. And I remember that story where that young man was fighting for his land, and Mrs. Janet Museveni was taking away that land from him. And in the process, I think the young man was killed, he died, and the mother struggled, but all the same, they took away the land. And this story, it was in the Confidential. At the time, Teddy Cheye had not been appointed as an economic and monitoring advisor in State House yet. And I remember Mrs. Museveni, when Teddy Cheye wrote those stories in the Confidential, the only thing she came out to say was, people like Teddy Cheye, they can only deserve forgiveness, but I don't even know how I can forgive him, because he put her on the spot. And then they bought him off, because if they had not, Ted Cheye was exposing in the Confidential a lot of their rot. And I think they knew that this was going to open the eyes of Ugandans, and it was going to make their stay in Uganda short-lived. And so they went on with their machinations. And so the story of eliminating people and her, shockingly, I mean, as a mother, no woman should allow the child of another woman to die in her hands, because that is wrong, because she knows the pain of labor. And labor pain, is 25 ohms. It's the most painful thing. I think for men, the closest pain is toothache, which is 22 ohms. And for another woman to allow or even to direct the death or the elimination of another child is totally wrong. And for that to be the first lady of a country, oh my God, I don't even know how you can handle this.
And let Musanaz on. He's going to go ahead and comment to what you're saying, and then I want to go to Dorothy because I have a question for her with everything that we've been saying here. Musanaz, go ahead and answer back to what the Honorable Zoe Bakoko had to say.
Well, Honorable Bakoko, you hit it right on the nail. Now, the person who was ordered because of the land wrangles was related to Janet in this way. Janet Museveni had a step-sister or a half-sister, I think called Nantunda, I might not be right on the name. And that step-sister, actually, I think she passed away, is married to, was married to, I think, Sam Kutesa. And then Sam Kutesa's daughter married Muhoozi, Museveni's son. I'll go back. That person you're talking about, because of the land wrangles that lost his life, is related to Museveni through Museveni's half-sister, who was married to Sam Kutesa, who is now looking for the UN General Assembly here in New York. And by the way, the UN General Assembly, you must abide by term limits, 1 year only. How can somebody who does not respect the constitution of his own country by voting to eliminate term limits, how is he going to honor the term limits of UN? Anyway, going back to Ms. Zoe's question, Miss Janet is a cunning killer, just like her husband. We should tell it as it is. And also, I want people to know, from the very beginning, Miss Janet Museveni was caught with bags full of money at Heathrow Airport. This is a well-documented incident, and this is the person we call the First Lady of Uganda. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Ugandans, I want you to listen to what I'm going to say. You might be afraid to take some risks, but if you love rain to get your plants going, you know you want rain to come, but rain comes with risk, and that risk is thunder. If you want rain, be prepared to take some risk. If you want freedom in Uganda, be prepared to take some risks. Fellow Ugandans, Uganda needs your help. And lastly, as people say, the dogs did not come to Uganda. Uganda did not got the dogs. The dogs came to Uganda in the form of Janet Museveni and her husband. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Musana.
Well, let me finish, and then I think I'll allow my sister to come. So I was just saying that, Mr. Musana and then Mr. Lawrence, and, they brought out the issues very, very clearly. The issues you see there which come out are issues of morality and integrity, which unfortunately is not there in a first lady who should be the closest advisor to her husband on matters of democracy and justice. Because it's a mother who understands the importance of freedom. It's a mother who understands the importance of independence. Unfortunately, we have issues of corruption where the First Lady has been involved, and you heard that very clearly, how she was strategically appointed as the minister of Karamoja. And I remember when she first wanted to run for parliament, her husband was kind of nervous. But it was all a game because they knew that they wanted to put her in this position where they would be able to milk, and extract all the gold and all the minerals from Karamoja and do it. And I think there's also a story, if my memory is right, where the Minister of Public Service lost one of his daughters in Karamoja in an accident when I think which involved some foreign people, I think British, who had gone there to look at the gold when they were in the beginning of developing their gold business. And so there have been people who have been affected, really, and they try. That's why people like Honorable Kajura, how old they may be, they cannot be dropped out of cabinet because that painful past could come back to bite some people. And so these are issues which are very critical. You talk of a person who is supposed to be a first lady. She's corrupt. She's not even looking out for the interests of the children. She is not even looking at the rights of these people. She's in parliament. She's not raising her voice against many of these issues. Even if she could not raise her voice, she would have told her husband. But we have seen how she colluded with Bahati to bring this hateful law, the homosexuality law against the people, the homosexuals. And yet the highest number of defilement and rapes in the country are done by heterosexual people. And I've never heard her talking about defilement of all these young kids and the rapes that is going on and the gender-based violence in Uganda, even as it is created by her soldiers going around raping all the young girls and women all over the country as they are taken to fight their wars. So really, for me, I think it boils down to, as a first lady, what has she done that has put an impact in improving the lives of Ugandans? What has she really done? If she can grab land, if she can be involved in eliminating another human being, if she's been taking away money meant for the healthcare and for orphans and HIV people and take it away, really?
Yes, the compassion for the people of Uganda is definitely missing. We're going to take just a couple of minute break here, and I'm going to come back in with Dorothy with some questions I have for her. So we're going to go ahead and take a couple of minute break here. You've been listening to Freedom at Hand here on Voice Uganda Radio, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
The Uganda American Muslim Association invites you to the 6th annual meeting and conference. It will be held from July 11th, 2014 to July 13th, 2014 in Beltsville, Maryland. For more details, you can visit our website at uwamalink.org or call phone number 301-408-8417. Remember, it's every Muslim's duty to know of the plight of another Muslim. This is an opportunity for you to meet and know fellow Muslims from Uganda living in America.
Gwe omulungi atuuliriza, kino kirango kya njawulo. Amanyi n'eddoboozi, nze Muga James, chairman ow'akakiiko akateesiteesi ak'omukolo okugenda okukyaza Katikkiro mu Bungereza. Charles Peter Mayiga, Katikkiro wa Buganda, yakkiriza era yakakasa olugendo lwe olw'okulambula bannayuganda ne Abaganda abali mu nsi ez'enjawulo. Mu nteekateeka eno, Katikkiro agenda kulambula UK, agendeko Sweden, agendeko Canada, agendeko mu USA. Mu nteekateeka eno, naffe tulina omukisa munene nnyo okusonda ettoffaali okuzza Buganda ku ntikko. Pulogulaamu egenda kutambula etya? Pulogulaamu etambula bw'eti. Ng'ennaku z'omwezi 23 August ali mu UK ku Harris Academy oluvannyuma yeekoneko mu bika by'Abaganda. Bw'avaayo agende Sweden ng'ennaku z'omwezi 26 okutuuka ng'ennaku z'omwezi 28 mu August omwaka guno. Bw'avaayo ajja kubanga yeekonako e Toronto mu Canada ng'ennaku z'omwezi 29 okutuuka ng'ennaku z'omwezi 30. Bw'avaayo agende Chicago 31 mu August okutuukira ddala nga 4 September. Bw'avaayo agendeko mu Boston mu America okuva ng'ennaku z'omwezi 4 okutuuka ng'ennaku z'omwezi 8. Katikkiro asuubira okudda e Uganda ng'ennaku z'omwezi 9 mu September omwaka guno. Guno gwe mukisa gwaffe okulaga obwagazi bwaffe erinnyaffe Buganda. Ng'okumanya ebisingawo osobola okukyalira omukutu gwaffe friendsofbuganda.org.uk. Sonda ensimbi ezo ezinayamba okuddaabiriza amasiro ate n'embuga z'amasaza ag'enjawulo okuzza Buganda ku ntikko. Charles Peter Mayiga agenda kuba nga atukyalira ate goberera enteekateeka ez'enjawulo mu nsi ezo z'emmenye n'abakulu abateesiteesi bajja kuba nga bakutegeeza ebigenda mu maaso.
Kabaka wapeke kabonero akalaga nti Katonda ne Buganda omwoyo gugube kudimbira kabaka wange.
Hello, and thank you so much for coming back and enjoying the conversation here that we're having on the First Lady of Uganda, Janet Museveni, here on Voice Uganda Radio at Freedom at Hand. I want to let our listeners know, too, that if you miss any part of this or you want to hear this again, this is a lot of information that I think has really opened all of our eyes to a lot of things. We will be posting this out on YouTube. Your key message to type in is Voice of Uganda Radio, or you can type in VOUR, V-O-U-R, and this audio will be out there sometime later today or tomorrow. We will upload it and put it out there for you to listen to again. Let me go to Dorothy here real quick, because we've had a lot of things going on and a lot of conversation here. Dorothy, who you've been so compassionate about a lot of the nodding disease and some of the other things that have been going on. When you hear that this government spends $90,000 American dollars to send their children into another country to give birth, in a place where that $90,000 could make a huge difference just in the hospitals in Uganda. You take $90,000 and you put it into the hospital in Uganda, I'm telling you, you can do some great and wonderful things. You open up a program where these children with these nodding diseases can come and get better evaluation and teach the parents a little more about compassion with handling the children. Because, Dorothy, tying them to a tree to keep them from killing themselves, when the world sees that, we get angry because we don't understand it, and yet the government's not doing anything to help us understand that there's compassionate ways of handling these things to keep these children safe. What do you have to say to that? I mean, that is a lot of money.
Miss Brenda, thank you so much. Here we go again, because I cannot talk about northern Uganda and nodding disease and the person who calls herself a mother, and I'm speaking. That's why I said I'm confused, but thank God that our audience, the callers, they have managed to make a link. And the most important thing that the panel that has been calling, they are gentlemen, okay? Because they might say that some people, they are emotional or they think too much into things, okay? $90,000, how many babies can be saved? Yes. You see those children with the scars, with the fresh wounds, nodding. They have gone into the fire. That's why they tie them, because this is something to do with the neurological system, whereby their nerves, they don't even feel. Mm-hmm. They touch in fire, they get burnt. But you are a mother. That is what my question is. You are a mother. Are you only the mother of Natasha? Does Natasha want $90,000 to go give birth in Germany? When? Mr. Musana, I say this, but it is true. He speaks to my heart. He knows what is coming out, and he knows how to reach and pick it out. Okay? And and Mr. when they talk about hospital, Mulago, really, Miss Brenda, no warm water, maternity ward. How many mothers die a minute in Uganda? Some of them, they can't be touched. How much can $90,000 do when the mother doesn't even have a bed to lay on? Go on YouTube. You see these hospitals, you see these things. Is Natasha the only child that was to be taken care of? As I remember in history, this is the double standard I'm talking about. Don't talk about HIV and do the work when you reach out and take the money. When you reach out and take $90,000 for Natasha. When our mothers die, when the babies die, what are you talking about? Don't talk about northern Uganda when you have done nothing about northern disease. When you reach out and take for the money, for the aid, for rehabilitation from northern Uganda and go cash it and take it. What kind of mother are you? This was my question. This was my question. The maternity ward in Mulago. What is it that this mother cares about? As a mother, you wake up, you raise your child, and it turned out to be the way you did not expect. This law has caused so much pain, division, killings, but it is hard to see. It was the mother's brain behind this. What kind of a mother are you? There's so much money that they have gotten from northern Uganda. Miss Brenda, if you go to YouTube and you see how malnourished those children in Kalamoja are, you would be surprised. So much money from the God. The man who can bring an helicopter gunship and kill mothers with the babies on their backs for the sake of God. And you, the woman, you are appointed minister to go take care of this kind of business. Is there any question why Uganda is in trouble? Is there any question why Uganda is in trouble? When you look at these two characters, I go back to Professor Mbiru and all our great teachers. The Voice of Uganda Radio. Look at the character of the person and the personality and what we are dealing with now. What has been missing? We have no mother, we have no father, we have fake people, okay? We have fake people. That's why Uganda is in trouble. Because, Mama Brenda, if you drink that milk, which was supposed to be the death of my father's condolence, you are not coming back to my house for some time. How is it?
I know.
He had to hand that chance of milk to anybody. That is the safety, that is the personality. Then I thank Mr. Musana, the chair, Professor Mbiru, going back to the mustard seed, the book they wrote for the husband, and my journey for the first lady. And because it is from these books that we get the truth, they are really personalities. Uganda is in trouble because this is the personality and the nature of these people. They came to steal, they came to take. Nobody can pretend, okay? There is no way you don't talk about nothing disease. There is no way you take money for HIV and the tuberculosis and the mothers. There is no money. You take money from the northern Uganda poor people who have savaged the war on your husband's hand, and you take that money, and you come back and you organize a work for HIV. I'm sorry. We don't have a mother. We don't have a father. We have a pit that will never fill. Because if these money, people, they haven't had enough money in 30 years. As Mr. Musana said, the first lady was the first, when they came to power, Miss Brenda, they called her with a briefcase of dollars. This is a Christian. How can we, Grandpa Melissa, be dead? And you are Christian? And so many others? Thank you so much, Miss Brenda. The children of Uganda, you need to wake up and you know that we have thugs. We have mafias. We don't have a mother. We don't have a father. It has not happened before 28 years they have been in power. Please don't expect it to happen. Get up. Get up. Yes, and we fight for a true mother and a true father for Uganda.
Yeah, and let me make this comment here real quick, and then I'll let you come back in, Zoe. You know, compassion, we know from what is being said, is gone from the country, and this program today is not just a one-sided program. If you feel the need to call in to defend the First Lady, then please feel free to do so, because, you know, we want this to be well-rounded. We don't want to come across like we're just attacking. But when you hear evidence that is out there, public evidence that is out there for all of us, you can't diffuse the fact that something is very, very wrong here. Let me say this, Zoe, before I go to you. In the United States of America and anywhere in the free world, when there are injured, when there are a disease, when there are things going on, afflictions, you see the First Lady and you see the President. They tour the hospitals, they tour the injured. When men come back in from the military that have been wounded and hurt, they tour. They find out, what are we going to do? How do we spend money to make these people whole again? I have never, ever, ever, in anything that I search and go to find, there is nothing where the president goes out to greet the wounded that are coming back from the war. Where are those wounded? Are they coming back from the war? There's nowhere where Janet Museveni has gone into a hospital to tour the maternity award so that we can see what's going on, what new equipments they're getting, what the doctors are doing, new procedures, how they're working with the Center of Disease Control. You see nothing of this. I mean, there is no compassion anywhere for the atrocities and what is happening to the Ugandan people. Yet in every country, you can look on the news and see even Prince Williams and his wife. You see them. They tour these hospitals. You know what's going on. They have compassion for the people. When you lose that compassion, something's very, very wrong, and you won't be able to get it right without a huge change. Go ahead, Zoe, and comment to that.
Thank you very much, Ms. Brenda. Thank you, Dorothy. I mean, the passion in the debate to this morning is just amazing, and it just, you know, it breaks your heart to pieces. And I just want to go back, and I think when Mrs. Hillary Clinton visited Uganda, the women organizations requested me that she has a meeting with them. And so the First Lady of Uganda and the First Lady of the United States came together in Makerere. This was a global meeting which we held in Makerere University. And so when, when these ladies brought the poor women from northern Uganda whose lips had been chopped and whose arms had been chopped in this war, oh my God, you should have seen how furious the First Lady was. She was furious. She was really furious. And she's like, how do you go and expose your dad? And now, I mean, the money which America and all these countries are giving for chasing Konyi has become sweet. It's sweet. The money is sweet. But at the time when we were struggling with the women organizations to try and expose these atrocities, she didn't want anybody. She said, how dare them? So how could they, Honorable Bakoko, how could you have allowed this? I said, Madam, this is the only way we can bring out the voices of the women. And this is the only way we can show the world, because here is the mother of America coming to, to visit with us and show her compassion. Which other better way would have been there? The speeches, which are always glamorous, or looking on and talking to these women who are here, who have suffered, who will give you the testimony of how they lost their arms, their lips, their ears, and so you can see that this is something which is really sentimental. And we talk about the Garden City, which I think Musana spoke about. And if you remember, there was also an article which was written by Sejusa, talking about how, Honorable Bakoko, you were in trouble because Mrs. Janet needed that money to build Garden City. And because you were not allowing this money to be siphoned, like the money was going out $5 million a month before, then you needed to be out of that place so that they could be able to get the money. And so the money for building Garden City was actually the workers' savings. How awful can that be? How low can we sink? And then you look at the fires. We discussed fires in schools. and how
yes.
children have lost their lives. We have never had her come out and speak about the lives of these children who have been lost in these fires, because this is the role of a mother, to come out and talk about this. You people have repeatedly talked about her sending her daughters to go and deliver abroad. And in Uganda, 22 women die daily because of childbirth-related issues, problems. 22. Wow, that's like a full minibus. If it was an accident, it would carry the front page. But she talks about maternal health, but she doesn't bring it out loud enough. And you have numbers. All these women suffering because they don't have mere access to water, safe water. How much does it take to get access to safe water? Look at all the monies which are being stolen. Look at all the monies which are going out where they're spending this $90,000. How many wells would they have protected for women? Exactly. So that they could have access to safe water and their children would not, and that would reduce the burden of disease by half. The NAP money, which Dorothy has talked about, the money for northern Uganda reconstruction, after they allowed the war to go on to suit their own business, and then the money which was supposed to go and rehabilitate them, the money is stolen. We have not heard her voice. And of course, the issue of drinking this mabugo, for me as a Lubara, if somebody steals mabugo, the money or the milk which was supposed to go as a condolence gift, that is a curse. No wonder they are behaving like this.
Well, exactly.
It's a huge curse on the family. I've had one voice. I want to bring that voice of the person who has been talking about the girl child. I don't know if you read it. They don't put her articles in the front page. They always put it somewhere in the middle, and that is the Queen of Uganda, Nabagereka Sylvia. Wow. I've read her articles. Did you say another caller?
Yeah, I think it's a friend of yours that's calling in. Hey, go ahead and introduce yourself and come on into the conversation.
Thank you, Brenda. Of course. You have exhausted the subject. I didn't have much to add, except that I've been tempted at the last minute to say something as strange as connecting incest with the corruption. And you may be surprised how I can link those two. Well, let me go back to the beginning, the discussion of Janet Museveni becoming a politician. I think it was wrong from the ethical point of view. A first lady who gets involved in partisan politics would not play the role of a first lady who is supposed to be impartial, to be passionate, to treat everybody in the country as their, member of their family, as one, the same Ugandan brotherhood or sisterhood, for that matter. So I think it was a mistake for Janet Museveni to become MP in the first place. And it is true, as Honorable Bakoko said, originally Museveni hesitated to endorse his wife for the post to become MP, but as the politics heated up, he kind of gave up and supported her bid to become MP. I think that shows that Museveni himself is a weak character. If we knew that it was wrong for his wife as First Lady to become an MP, he should have insisted that she shouldn't become one. But the fact that he yielded to something, she was doing something wrong, that shows that he's a weak character himself. And the other thing about Janet's bid for the MP is that it shows also that we have a problem about democratization. The people do not base their votes on issues, but on personalities. Because Janet Museveni, when she ran for the first time, the incumbent was Augustine Muruzingana. And this was a very well-respected man. He was the former and the first IGG, Inspector General of Government. So he had, this was a man who was credible and who was fighting corruption, and one would say he was an upright man. But he lost to Janet Museveni, who was running for the first time. It's not because Janet Museveni was a better candidate, but because she had the name and the support and the money to influence her electoral process. So that's another sport in our politics. But I started with incest and corruption. I think it was Musana who pointed out that the late wife of Kutesa was related to Janet Museveni. And that means that she was the mother of Kutesa's daughter, who married Muhoz. That is incestuous in an African context. I don't know about the Banyankole. I am aware that Janet Museveni is not the biological mother of Muhoz, but nevertheless, she's her mother. She's the mother of Muhoz in all respects, because she's married to the president, who is the father, and she should be, the true mother up to now. And yet, if the wife of Muhoz is related to Janet Museveni, that's an incestuous relationship. And for them to tolerate that is incredible. And I think from the African customary practices, it's almost treason. So I just wanted to point out that small point to see it within the context of corruption that is going on in Uganda. So thank you very much. I hope they continue with your lively and very informative discussion.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to have you call in. Ladies, we're down to our last 10 minutes, so I'm going to yield some of my time to you guys as well. Dorothy, let me go ahead and give you 3 or 4 or even 5 minutes to kind of close out some of the things that you want to share here at the end, and we'll go to Zoe and let her close it out, and I'll come in with the last comments, but I'll keep you guys abreast to the time. Go ahead, Dorothy.
Thank you so much, Miss Brenda. All our listeners, the callers, Honorable Zoe, I would like to thank you so much. Now, as I said before, I will not tire. I will not tire, as Mr. Musana stated. Uganda is ours. There's no question about that. It is our responsibility. As for you, my brothers and sisters, my parents, oh my beloved Ugandan, here it is. We have brought the suggestions or the ideas you've called in, you have discussed the topics. It is obvious that we have missed on both ends, because normally, if something missing, it is the mother to reach out and to say, oh, you are the father of the country. It has gone wrong here. This is the wrong way. Even we know they don't come out in the public, but they correct things back at home before they get out of hand. But you have seen Uganda, we've been in trouble for a very long time. There is no way you steal the condolences, and I think it is funny. It is a disgrace and a respect for my dead father. You did not carry the milk. You sat in the bush and drank it. You did not find anybody to hand over the chance to take it over to the mother to take care and prepare tea. No way. No way. To some people, they might think that is very simple and it doesn't worth any minute. But I'm telling you, it is worth it, and that's why we are in trouble. For her not being able to scold him and say, you know what, you're going to find where to eat for 2 days for drinking that milk, and she sits there and writes about it and she thinks it is funny. We are in trouble. That's why money is missing every day. That's why people are dead. That's why we have missed on a true mother, on a true father, and that's why the children of Uganda are in trouble in education. Let it be hospitals. Let it be what? They came to take, but not to support. I'm so happy that I think for Honorable Zoe and Miss Brenda for the hard work here, the points have crossed over. This business of lying and double standard, okay? Because for me, it kills me. Don't give Natasha $90,100 to go to Germany to give birth when we are losing 22 mothers a day in Mulago. Some will never make it to the hospital. Some die on the floor, not being touched because we have no nurses and doctors. They never get paid. There is no water. We use charcoal stoves in intubation wards. We use charcoal stove to sterilize instruments. Are you a mother? Where are you? Why do you show up to support the hateful law when you didn't show up during dengue disease? When the money comes for HIV/AIDS, you go and take it. Money come for Northern Uganda rehabilitation, you come take it, and you are the mother. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, but I think...
Let me interrupt you real quick. Let's go ahead and take this call in. This will be our last call for the show because we do need to close it out. We're running out of time. So caller, go ahead and come on in with a brief comment for the ladies, and we'll go back to you, Dorothy. Go ahead, caller.
Oh, thanks so much, Ms. Brenda. Thanks, Honorable Zoo. Oh, thanks for everyone. My name is Chiti Chamogo, down here in Australia. I've been listening to you, Ms. Brenda, previously. Sometimes I miss your conversation. I mean your contributions and all that because of the time difference. But
yeah.
Today, my reason for calling Ms. Brenda, this is just my request. I don't know about whether Uganda is out they see it. This is my opinion. I'm just requesting you, please, could you become our leader? Could you become maybe be our political leader in this struggle? The reason why I'm suggesting this is because we grew up in the current government, and then we've spoken about so many things. It's now approaching about almost 7 years. We're talking about the same thing. We're calling upon all Ugandans to come together and we make a formidable side, and we do what we effect the change. Like in other countries, no one is turning around. You are ailing from United States, you are helping us. Now you become even to understand our problems. You know, I think now you've even gathered a lot of country information, Uganda, the information about Uganda and all around, and you know what Uganda really needs. You know what we need. To my suggestion, I'm suggesting this, please, could you maybe become our political leader and lead this? Because we are inefficient, we can't organize ourselves. I'm saying this because I know the current system. I was part and parcel of the system. But we've spoken to people both in Uganda, mostly some important people in Uganda. We've spoken, there are people outside abroad
in out of Uganda who can try do what organize us. But it seems people are betraying us. And these are the tricks. People back at home, most of them are some important people. I think they are in the same, they drink on the same pot as the dictator. So they can't organize us. What they do, they're trying to secure every race in between them. This is a group of small people, a small group of people who are doing this. But when you take us and lead us as our political leader, I think the society is trying to protect will find younger leaders there, and the younger leaders there have experienced hardship and they would like a change for their country to have a better change. We are in overseas. Yes, that's my contribution anyway. I can't go that much, but that's my request. Because we can't organize ourselves. Do you have to, or someone like you who really have like something which you really see people are suffering? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. That caller came in from Australia, and we thank you so much. And please know here at the Federal Alliance for Democracy and Development in Uganda, as well as the FUF, we are working tirelessly and effortlessly to bring about change in Uganda. We'll talk more about that later on. Dorothy, go ahead and have a minute here and let Zoe close out. Go ahead. We're not going to take any more calls for the rest of the show.
Miss Brenda.
Sure.
And I would like to call the previous caller. On a brief note, on that point that he has pointed out, my Miss Brenda, you know my thoughts, and you understand. I'm not going to add anything to that. What I can say that I thank God for such a gift of you, Honorable Zoe, of all Ugandans and our friends and our well-wishers who are working tirelessly, who has intentions for the children of Uganda. This is not about us. It is every decision you make, every sacrifice. Remember the children of Uganda, for how long they have suffered. So you give the sacrifice and let us get home, as I was saying, in search of a true mother and a true father. As Miss Brenda, you have heard, Honorable Zoe, I'm not alone searching for a true mother and a true mother. We will help step by step, but we will get there. Thank you so much, and God bless you all.
Thank you. And let's go ahead and go to Zoe here. Zoe, go ahead. We only have a few minutes, but go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, Miss Brenda. Thank you, Dorothy. Every Sunday, it's a blessing. It's a blessing that we are here. It's a blessing we are alive. It's a blessing that we are able to share with our communities and talk about our country and how we can reclaim our country and reclaim the glory of Uganda. And I must say, all the issues we have discussed, they give us a heavy heart, because when you have a father who is not doing the right things, it's the mother who always says, I think, here we are not going right. And that silent voice is, at that moment when you are alone, when you have put all the kids to sleep and everything is quiet, that's when you start re-evaluating what's going on in your home. And now Uganda is their home, and they should be talking about all the things that are going wrong. But instead, if they are plotting on how to destroy the country, it's a very unfortunate situation. And so for me, I think that message she wrote in her book about the husband drinking that milk and looking at it as a sense of humor and fun, it is really a curse. And karma, karma. What goes around comes around. And so I think Ugandans, this forum we have, where we are speaking, where FADU and FUF have come together, and all other different groups are coming together and saying it's time for us to go home. Uganda is big enough for everybody, and these two people have no right to say that other people should not live in it. And so we are grateful that these organizations are coming. And I still want to say my one little voice there in Uganda, because I have read the Queen of Uganda, how she goes out and she's always talking about the girl child, empower the girl children. give the voiceless a voice. Because if the women are empowered, if the girl child gets education, if she can speak about herself, then she will be able to nurture a family with moral standards, and she will be able to nurture a family with the ethical standards, and that will multiply. If all the mothers and the young girls are brought up like that, what do you expect? You expect a good Uganda, which is going to be nurtured by a good mother. And so it's very unfortunate that we don't have that mother now, but all hope is not lost.
Yes.
We are going home, and we are already planning on how to reclaim Uganda after Museveni. We are looking at post Museveni. What are we going to do to bring this country from all this cesspool and emptier tank where it's been a total mess? The hope is there.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you
so much, ladies. Thank you, my sisters, for being a part of this program. What a wonderful conversation we've had, and for all of our callers. To our last caller that called in too, please understand that we are tirelessly working on behalf of the Ugandan people. Our compassion comes from our heart, because what we know now is Uganda is being ran with pride over compassion. And we need to take the pride out and bring compassion back into the hearts of the Ugandan people and back into Uganda. Thank you so much. We will put this show out today on YouTube. Look for it sometime later this evening or tomorrow. The keyword is Voice Uganda Radio, and you'll be able to pull up this conversation on Janet Museveni today here on Freedom at Hand, Voice Uganda Radio. Thank you so much to all our callers, all our listeners. God bless America. God bless the people of Uganda. God bless all of you in the diaspora who are longing to go home to the big celebration that we will have in our lifetime in Uganda. So thank you so very much for all of your calls. God bless you all on this Sunday, and have a great rest of your Sunday.